This question is very difficult. Here's a good example of a question where if you're running out of time or you kind of just are really confused by it, you should move ahead. The questions in 16 through 20, those grid-in questions, remember, they reset the difficulty. So 16, 17, 18, in theory, are going to be much easier than this. So if you're running short of time, this is not a good place to spend that time because you already just randomly guessing are going to have a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. So use the time in the places where your odds of guessing randomly are much lower, the grid-ins, and earn those points, and you'll still have a chance at this. A lot of people, though, do get this by kind of just reasoning it out. They don't show any work on their page, and a lot of them do get the right answer. I don't think that that's a wise strategy. It may work here, but it is not a good rule of thumb overall. If you watch my videos for questions 11, 12, 13, 14, you would have seen places where I used strategies to prove my answers. And in all of those cases, there was basically a trap answer that the SAT wanted us to pick and that we might pick if we don't show our work and just follow our instincts. So, if we look at the 5 hard questions from this section, one of them, maybe your instincts are right. The other 4, they're going to get you those questions wrong. So that's pretty much proof for what I always say is you want to prove your answers. You got to be careful of your instincts in certain places. Hard questions, it shouldn't be easy. So what should we do here? Well, if I am going to try to prove my answer, I think this is a good example where showing your work really does pay off. We may not know why something is important, but if we write it down, we hopefully will move our brains in the right direction and kind of make some connections that we wouldn't make if we just kept it all in our heads, right? Seeing things is much better than thinking about things because you can only think about so many things at once. But if you put something on the page, you've taken it out of your mind, you've freed up that space to think about a new thing, and you've still got the other thing there on the page. So what would I write down? Well, there's a lot of information. I see that I want to go M fewer miles each week. And that matches up with the $5 that Alan is trying to save. So basically, this is kind of like a rate. I know that M miles, I'm going to even write miles here, is costing Alan $5, right? There's units involved here. And a lot of times with questions that involve units, the units actually help us understand what we're doing and they lead us through the problem and make sure that we don't make careless mistakes. So I'm going to follow that general rule, show my work, write my units, and hopefully that makes me understand what's going on. So it's kind of, miles. We could do miles per gallon, but we don't really need to here because I'm not interested in how many gallons he's saving per se. I'm just more interested in the number of dollars he's saving. And so if this were a ratio, I know that $4 is also going to get me a certain number of miles. And it says, right, $4 per gallon and 25 miles per gallon. So I guess I'm kind of doing a conversion, but not really. I mean, it's kind of just there because they're both related to 1 gallon, so it makes it easier. So what I've done here is I've created a ratio. 25 miles costs Alan $4. He wants to save $5, so how many miles would that amount to? Now, I could figure it out. I could actually just do the math and figure out the value of M here, but that's not what they're asking me to do, which is also kind of weird. They're trying to get me to make one of these things look good. So we can do some manipulation here. If I were to just kind of do normal, like proportion stuff, I might cross multiply. And so let me drop the units now. I'd have 4 times M, and normally I would just do multiply 5 times 25, but I can look at my answer choices and they tell me that I don't need to do that, right? The 25 is still kind of there, so I'm going to keep it separate of 25 times 5. And I can see I'm getting close here to the answer. I want to match an answer. Well, I see I've got no 95s at all. And then the m is attached to a fraction, and I want to try to make that fraction, and I can do it by dividing out the 25. So maybe you see it the other way, and you say, oh, I want to get 5 by itself, so we divide out the 25. Either way, look, this m is now kind of floating next to a fraction. And I don't know what benefit this particular equation has. It's not really that useful, but I don't care. I'm being asked for it, and I gave it to them, and that's it. That's done. So that's the answer. I don't really have a better solution. There are other ways that we could have calculated more things. I mean, it's odd that we didn't use this 100 miles thing. Very rarely does the SAT give us information that we don't use, so that might scare me a little bit. But it's not relevant. It's not part of this. Yeah, if you have another way that you used, feel free to put it in the comments. But this to me is the most like logical, because I didn't know what I was doing, right? Like I kind of started this just kind of writing things down and trying to make some comparisons, and then slowly I kind of inched my way towards the answer. And I think that this question is so weird that that's likely how you're going to approach it. And so I'm giving you permission to do that. You don't need to enter every single question knowing all the steps you're going to do. Sometimes you just kind of feel it out. But regardless, showing your work is an important way of moving the process along. You write something down, you're not really sure why it's going to help you, but you trust that it will, and a lot of times it does. And you've written something that spurs on your next idea and gets you moving through the problem, and eventually, what do you know? The answer pops out, and that's okay. Sometimes we just take the win and move on and don't really ask too many questions why.